Hello, hello, hello. This is Kathy with the Facebook Live known as Ageless and Awesome. And today I'm going to share a quick technique, something you can do in 60 seconds or less to not only just to release some of the anxiousness, all the waves of emotions that are coming over us these days. It's kind of crazy being locked down in particular. I'm such an extrovert. I have been going through the range of emotions just like everybody. Everything from just a certain sense of anxiety, the fear, the stress, the hopelessness, helplessness, anxiety, uncertainty, frustration, creative insecurity. There's so much that's up for all of us right now. And, it's kind of interesting. I really have been happy to see how many people are doing super great with just being patient with one another. And the same thing, I would ask that at this time that you be patient with yourself and at the same time, allow yourself to feel the things that you are feeling. So I ask you, what is it? You might even want to write it in below. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being filled with anxiety or filled with some kind of emotion, how are you feeling these days? How are you coping? Is there something that's in particular is coming up for you? This I was posted a little bit earlier that the name of my Facebook Live every Thursday at 2 is called Ageless and Awesome. And it's how simple tips for you to live life lightly or joyfully. And, when I was looking at posting for this week to kind of talk about FasterEFT, it seemed kind of irrelevant to be talking in terms of ageless and awesome. But truly, when we can learn simple techniques like this, a technique like EFT is great for releasing, especially now, I call it the acute sense of emotions that are triggering us right now. Like, these are very immediate needs. We've got some threats to us on almost like a survival level of anxiety that's coming up right now. Like, we've got concerns for loved ones, we've got concerns for our finances, our businesses, our jobs, all these things are coming up. And so that's an acute situation. As we stretch that out over time, if we learn to use simple techniques like what I'm about to share with you with this FasterEFT, if we learn to incorporate these and use them regularly, it's almost like a hygiene, if you will. It's a hygiene for your mind and body system to keep it clean. So we have emotions all the time that are being triggered, and a lot of times they're lower grade. They don't seem significant in and of themselves. And so a lot of times we're just not taught we don't allow ourselves to feel them. We're caught up in those busy days, and so we just tend to suppress them. We'll tuck them away. And over time, these little bits of emotion can actually build up in our system. Our nervous system literally is like a messenger highway, if you will. And if we don't deal with these little tidbits, I think of it as like dust bunnies that are affecting our natural flow of energy within our body, and it can cause real problems down the line, not just low-grade stress and things like that, but if we don't address it, then over time it can lead to physical symptoms. So I was just helping someone who felt like she had a grip on her arm. Her arm was going numb, and essentially that's what this was. We had an energy passing through her body of fear that was being triggered. And so by helping her with a simple technique like this, we were able to release the grip of that, then look at the trigger of like, when was the first time? A lot of these things are actually grounded in circumstances that happened or fears that we experienced in our childhood that are being triggered. So it's cool to me, when these things get triggered now, because it helps us to go back and kind of clean the closets, if you will, of some of those old things that were trapped in our childhood, or other times that we've picked things up from other people. It might have been inherited. It might have been generational, these things that have been passed down in our lineage for generations. Sometimes we're trying to fix these things ourselves when actually they were passed down. It's almost like in our DNA. So here's a super simple technique. A lot of people may be familiar, and maybe just chime in below. Have you heard of the technique called EFT, which is an abbreviation for emotional freedom technique? It's also known as tapping, because we are literally tapping on meridian points on the body. So I love tapping, and I do some book clubs around releasing like financial beliefs and just energies, emotions that we have around finances and things like that. So and I love that the Ortners are doing great work as far as bringing the EFT to be more commonplace. But the EFT process in and of itself sometimes can be a little bit cumbersome. And even for me, who I use it with clients, I use it for myself, it can be a little bit cumbersome coming up with a proper script in order to use EFT. So today I wanted to use one that I absolutely love. It's perfect for these days right now when we're all like getting triggered left and right. I know I am being alone. Like I said, I'm kind of feeling like a trapped animal right now, lots of frustration, and now it's kind of a rainy day, so all the more so. So this is called FasterEFT. And what it is, we're using the body's meridian points, if you will. And I like to think of meridian points in the acupuncture system as being kind of like the messenger highway within our body. And what we're going to do, rather than using all the tapping points that are used in the traditional EFT technique, we use just 4. And so this is super simple. It's a little bit different on the first one. We're actually going to tap right here in between the eyebrows. It's almost like I like to think of that as the third eye in a way of waking up our third eye. So there's 4 points. We're going to go around the eye. So first is in between here, then here on the side of the eye, then under the eye, and then my favorite is on the collarbone. So that's a meridian point. All of these are meridian points, which means it's a point on the superhighway of information or the energy flows of our body, if you will. And when we tap on these, I think of it as a pattern interrupt. So when we've got messages going through our body like zap, 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 we're triggered with an emotion such as, I'm just going to use stress because it's up for everybody right now. So say you got stress or your fear or anger gets triggered. This is how we're going to do it. You just think of that stress. It's like, wow, I'm feeling stressed. And then we're going to ask the body by using the pattern interrupt, by tapping on these 4 places, invite it to release and let it go. And then at the end of the cycle, we're going to ground. You just hold your hand, your wrist here, which is a very anchoring position, and come up with a thought like peace. For me, I like the word peace. You might find home or love or showtime. Maybe you want an active one like let's rock it, let's do this. You can come up with any kind of word you want, but that last one is a grounding or anchoring kind of a thing. So this is how the process goes, and it's so cool. On a scale of 1 to 10, kind of calibrate, how triggered am I? So I'll say I got triggered, let's say I got triggered with anger on my mountain bike the other day, and this gal was being kind of snippy, let's just say, and I got triggered. So it was a short turn zip, but boy, I was triggered. It was probably a 6, and I just don't usually do anger, but on a scale, so for me, being a 6 in anger was pretty intense. So you kind of calibrate in advance. So you've got that baseline of how triggered you are, and then you go like this. You consider the anger. Oh, this anger. And then you tap. Release and let it go. 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 And then you anchor it with peace. And it's interesting, even just after one cycle, you can feel the intensity of the emotion begin to settle down. And so at the end of one round, you kind of calibrate in again. Okay, it's like, you know what? Still kind of kicked up. I'm a 4. From a 6, I'm a 4. So you just do it again. All this anger, I release and let it go. 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 And keep breathing deeply through that. The breath is going to help to allow it to move out of the body. So nice, deep breaths. Calibrating again with peace. So now I'm down to about a 2. I might need to do it one more time. So release and let it go. Release and let it go. I release and let this go. I release and let it go. Peace. So it's fascinating, just 3 or 4 cycles, and if you might find that you need even more than that, but it's a super simple technique that you can do anytime. I've helped a lot of clients implement this, and they've had really great results with it. So I would like to invite you to try it out yourself sometime. Let's see if there's any questions. You can use both hands. Thanks for good question, Diane. Some people do like to be kind of crowded on this first one. You can do it on both sides with both hands. Yeah, release and let it go. This is my favorite. When you hit the collarbone, this K2 is what it's called as far as meridien points. You can feel the reverberation going all the way through the body. So I really like that for a pattern interrupt. But anybody got any other questions before I hop off? But again, I just wish all of you well. Please honor all the emotions that are being kicked up right now. We are humans. We are meant to be energetic bodies. Just allow the emotion to well up. Allow yourself to observe what's going on with a certain amount of interest. Don't identify with the emotion, otherwise it actually locks it into our body. Don't try to resist it. Don't try to suppress it. Just allow this. And I believe this is kind of an amazing time for us to be able to just sit. It's kind of, I call it pea soup. This pea soup that we're in, because it's kicked off for everyone. So, and we've got all this time on our hands. So I really invite you, rather than to process it the way that we typically may, of just go ahead and with curiosity, when things get kicked up for you, to sit with it and just say, wow, what is this anxiety about? How do I feel this in my body? How can I channel this in a more positive way? And oftentimes I like to flip the coin and say, on the other side of this anxiety, what is it that I would like to experience next? So if now I'm in anxiety, what I would really like to feel is some peace. Peace is always a good one. I want connection. I want to see people with compassion. I want patience. I want understanding. And I really believe that we can use these times right now. It might be difficult. Okay, yes, it's definitely difficult. And we can use this time of difficulty and contrast to get clarity about what we would like to experience next. How many times do you do each tap on each point? That's a great question. Thank you, Tiffany, for asking that question. So it doesn't really matter. There's not a specific number of times. It's just as long as it takes you to say, release and let it go. 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 So maybe 8 times, somewhere in there, but however long it takes you to say the words. But again, just play around with this. I've got a ton of other techniques I'm going to be sharing in the weeks to come. Each week I'll be here Thursday at 2 o'clock sharing something as simple as this that is small but yet such a powerful thing. And like I said, as we learn to incorporate these techniques, this is an acute, it's definitely fired up for a lot of us on a scale, lots of 8s and 10s are popping up. And if we can learn to experience our emotions, not judge ourselves for having these emotions, recognize that this is normal, allow emotions are meant to be felt, experienced, kind of process, okay, I got the message, and allow it to flow out. That's the natural cycle in life. And when we can use tools like this to go in and identify things that are being triggered for ourselves, allow those to clear out, over time, that buildup of trapped emotions won't happen in our bodies. I'm sure you've all seen somebody who's maybe older, and you can tell that, boy, that person's still walking around with chips on their shoulder and bitterness and things like that, and they're aging. You can see it on their face. You can see it in their bodies, their posture, the way they walk and carry themselves. They're stiff, they're achy. What's underneath all that? And so when we can learn simple techniques like this to clean out the old dust bunnies, if you will, of these emotional triggers, then it will actually help us to stay youthful and vibrant. But super important now, as we're all triggered, as I am. I invite you guys. I'm here to support you in any way I can. So I would love to connect with you. Like I said, I'm here alone. So please reach out. And I'm wishing you and your family well. Take care, and I'll hopefully see you next week. Okay. Bye from Ageless and Awesome, the Facebook Live. Bye.